Welcome, everyone, to another installment of Hidden Variables podcast. I'm Deb Shakti, your host, and today we have another absolutely riveting guest. His name is Matthew Klee. A PhD developed a successful career as an internationally recognized analytical instrumentation expert, scientist, inventor, and author. He was considered one of the leading authorities in the areas of gas chromatography and mass spectrometric instrumental analysis. Matthew is a master level martial artist, musician, licensed massage therapist, energy healer, and photo video hobbyist. He also flies a powered paraglider on occasion. Very intrepid. Matthew's interests, awareness, and experiences in things spiritual, astral, and extraterrestrial have manifested only after retirement. Much of this was accelerated and facilitated by attending the Rhys Thomas Institute for Energy Medicine, which is a mystery school, and taking advantage of the services of local energy healers, mediumship trainers, and online classes. At the start of 2023, Matthew became involved with the ZPE Project Group, the 0 Point Energy Project Group, and has devoted most of his time helping to manifest his vision in researching, building, testing, and teaching about electricity producing devices based on 0 point energy, basically extracting usable energy from the quantum vacuum. So please help me in welcoming Matt to this podcast. Matt, thank you so much. I met you less than a year ago at a really cool contact modalities retreat that we hold up in northern Wisconsin once a year or more. And you were just the most delightful and intriguing person I met up there this time. So bright and with so many parallel things to me in my own life that it's just funny, some of it's just funny, but I have no expertise in the 0 point energy field. And so maybe just start out by telling us a little bit of your story, and let's just flow with that and see where we go.
Okay, and we each got an apported little prism thing too.
Yes, we did. Matt and I were one of 3 or 4 people who at that particular retreat received a gift from what is known as the Ashtar Command. It just apported out of the 0 point, I guess, right? Out of the vacuum.
It is the same stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and the message that was given was that these are tools, these are technology, and we are supposed to work together. So we're working together today, Matt. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the opportunity. Yeah, it's just one of the many synchronous things that have been happening in my what I call rapid change.
Oh, yeah.
After a career in science. But what I've learned is I was in corporate multinational organizations, pharmaceutical, and most recently in instrument developing companies, the companies that produce the equipment that's used in the laboratories to investigate what is in something chemically and what concentration it is. So it's got that detective investigator aspect to it that I like.
Yeah.
But it also has a lot of instrumentation, electronics, software, state of the art, robot type stuff, which is also something that I was attracted to as a kid, taking apart, motors and doing my own photo developing, and just practical chemistry and things like that that were a piece of me back then. And martial arts, a little bit of martial arts, but I wouldn't say the spiritual aspect and developing that. It went into science, and then the more science, I found my outlets in the creative aspects, inventing things, and it's kind of interesting to uncover what chemical composition is, and that kind of stuff has a certain creative aspect to it. So I had some creative and music and stuff. So my profile is I achieve knowledgeable achievement, PhDs, a lot of paper type stuff, but also a creative aspect. And so different ways of doing that. And during I'll call it the commercial aspect, or the more formal business aspect of my past, I would be given assignments sometimes that I don't want to be a manager. I don't want to, herd, and do all these things, but okay, I'll do it. I don't want to learn project management. I just want to get in the laboratory and do things, right?
Yeah.
So, but now all that stuff is now what I use in this endeavor. So
Yeah.
all of that was preparation for this, which you don't know at the time, right?
No.
And so I'm actually very glad I went through it. So, because as you find out that, what it is that, and I was enjoying a lot of it while I was doing it, but the purpose, is a balance between, I'm there getting paid, I'm doing stuff for the company, but I was a lot of teaching involved too. So I was doing it for the customers who would buy the equipment, and I would teach them what they're good for and how to use them the best way. So there was that aspect of helping people and stuff, but it was a different level than now, when it's more, I think, more important, and I get more excited about it. So you may see me get excited about some of the stuff and during our conversation.
As
And so that's how things are, and it all, as I said, it was after retirement. I relocated for a job that only lasted less than a year, but it got me to this location in Massachusetts, and then from Delaware. And there are a lot more things going on here in terms of meditation groups and spiritual, access to spiritual sorts of things, which I started to take advantage of. And then things just started my first mediumship experience was not on purpose. I was looking for a meditation group because I work better with others in meditation. It's hard for me to spend the time and focus. I'm too judgmental, and I'm always trying to contextualize my meditation,
analyze it. Yeah.
analyze and optimize. I'm all about efficiency and optimization. And so that's not so much what meditation's about. But anyway, so I recognizing that, I was seeking things. I went on the web, I found something that wasn't too far away, and all the description was good. So I went, and it was, as is often the case, it was me and the ladies.
Oh, yeah.
So there I was, and we had a good meditation, and this was really good, and I was enjoying it. And says, and then the leader goes, and now we're going to shift into our our mediumship portion of the class. And I went, what?
Surprise. Yeah.
And so then I had a decision to make, and I'm like, well, I didn't even, it's just that I wasn't ready for it. If I had thought about it, it might not have stopped me. It just
Sure.
was, maybe it would have, I don't know. And I go, well, okay, I'm here to observe and see what's going to happen. And so the scene was set, the energy was there, meditation was, and I was curious about the whole setup and access and protection and all that stuff that they were teaching about. And many of the other participants were experienced, and they were there just to have a collective experience. As you know, it helps to be in
Yes, group energy. Yeah.
and teach and experience, right? So, and then I got a hit. I actually got a hit, and I went,
Oh, yeah.
and so I kept quiet because I'm going, I don't trust it. I'm not
Oh,
going to say,
man.
I don't know what I'm doing. These people know what they're doing. I'm just going to say, but the teacher was very good, and she goes, yeah, all right, doesn't matter, whatever it is, first thing you get, let it out, let us know, no judgment, so on and so forth. So I waited a little bit, and it was still obviously a hit, it was like it didn't go away. So I said what it was, and it fit in, and it was like, whatever.
Of
And
course
I
it
went,
did.
well, I guess I'm doing this now. So it's not one of my fortes, but it's like, well, it's just an awareness thing. It's like, well, that's a thing. And so then I went to more and more of these, and I get names out of the blue. I'll get a name, and I get physical
Hmm.
sensations,
Hmm.
so that seems to be my thing at the moment. But
Neat.
anyway, yeah, so that's how it happened. It was just like random stuff. I met people, and then that would happen, and then I was like, well, this mystery school, the Rhys Thomas Mystery School, it actually holds classes, or held classes at hotels nearby. And I went, even though it's like people will fly in for these weekend classes, and it's
Hmm.
a 3-year program, but it was 25 minutes from here. So I went, oh yeah, I'll do that. I'll do 1 year. Let's see what see what that's like. And that was eye opening. So it's very um, Barbara Brennan sort of
Oh
energy,
yeah. Yeah.
chakra based energy healing and other
Yeah.
concepts. But and he does profiles, personality profiles,
Yeah.
which helps you. Like, why are you on Earth? You have the body that fits with your purpose, and he is like describes 5 profiles, and then it's, well, that fits because I told you earlier I'm a knowledgeable achiever, which
Hmm.
is kind of balanced with creative stuff, creative idealist. And then the other ones are a charismatic leader, a team
Hmm.
player, and an emotional intelligence specialist. And from those descriptions and kind of in general, what they're built for, what their energy systems are built for, I go, oh, well, that explains a lot. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, we knowledgeable achiever, creative idealists sometimes have shut down emotional sorts of things, and we just don't feel that as in such dramatic ways as other people are. And I go, yeah, okay, that kind of explains it. We're always trying to rationalize things. So that helped me with the context of who I am, and that was just necessary at the time, apparently,
It
and got
is.
me to like be comfortable with who I am and all the stuff that we were talking about before. And it was all,
Oh,
it's just the last 5 years, 6 years.
wow.
And then on we go. And I started ETs. Are you kidding me? ETs. ETs, you crazy guy. No way. And that was two and a half years ago. Yeah, it's like, whatever. And so, but then
Wow.
I got into Gaia and started reading stuff, and then I went, well, that kind of makes some sense. And I started and then going, then I got to Dr. Greer's sort of thing. And I go, well, that kind of makes some sense, and so on and so forth. And I said, well, he's really has a forte in the disclosure aspect, but
Mm-hmm.
now I'm feeling compelled to do something. I want to do
Yes.
something. So I can support others, but I need to do something. And
Mm-hmm.
part of the other people he has in that group, if you're an ambassador to the Greer group, they have
Mm-hmm.
some meetings,
Oh yes.
And so there were other people there, and I said, I asked the leader, Pat, I go, yeah, well, I want to do something. Who, and they spoke up and said, well, we have this group, and so this was a year and a half ago or so. So
Wow,
offline,
man.
they had started this group, but called the Zero Point Energy Project Group, and it's all volunteer, and they all have families and jobs and not a lot of time. And I go, I'm here. I have business experience. I can help set this thing up for you or with you, and you provide context for it and use all these things that I learned about in the business world and wasn't too happy about it. But now I think I can help. And so they said, oh yeah, sure. Do it. So I kind of like organize and help them. Um, and now a year later, we're a C Corp 501c3
Nice.
organization. We have a more or less formal structure because some of these projects are going to require money
Mm-hmm.
and donations. It's all volunteer. We seek funding, and I knew that if money was going to be running through it, and it could be hundreds of thousands of dollars running through it, then I want there to be a formality and a
Oh,
structure,
yeah, structure.
and
Absolutely.
give some confidence to people while also providing the tax deductible aspect of being a legitimate nonprofit.
Hmm.
So all of that stuff pretty fast in a year, pretty fast to get all
Yeah.
that organized, and we have now an infrastructure and teams. The 0 Point Energy Group is all volunteer, as I said. Nobody gets paid, and that means that all donations, all the stuff goes to the operations and the
Yes.
projects. And we are organized by teams. So we have upwards of 70 members now, and we have 20-ish potential teams. There are about 6 or 7 active, and those teams range from administrative to help run the meetings, do the documents, take the notes, to technical teams. We have a database team that's working on artificial intelligence specific
Cool.
for this
For
0 Point
ZPE.
energy
Yeah.
research.
Neat.
It's very exciting. And the one other, so there's a couple of differentiators. There have been other organizations, websites who have attempted to work on 0 Point energy. So remind me, we'll come back to like that aspect
Yes. Okay.
of why they might have not been successful versus us. But one of the aspects that we have, which I think is unique, is one of the teams is a consciousness and meditation team, because we realize
Thank you.
that most of these things are higher level consciousness,
Yeah.
and we seek guidance. But we also have recently, and Dr. Greer talks about consciousness assisted machines
Oh,
and
yeah.
machine assisted consciousness. We recently are buying into that pretty strongly, that there is a consciousness
Yeah.
aspect to these 0 Point energy devices. So we
Well,
can
there
talk
has
a
to
little bit.
be. Yeah. There just has to be. I have personal experience. I will tell you. Everything has consciousness, spaceships to rocks. Everything. The
And
ether.
so that how that manifests within a device, how do you impart it, how do you call it and create it in a way that's going to be useful for
Mm.
people who may not be there themselves, but so you can
Yes.
embed it. How do you embed it and that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
All of that aspect requires people who are already at a higher vibration, and many of our people have frequent contact with other forms of consciousness, whether they're astral or extraterrestrial, and some are just very intuitive. They don't know where it comes from, but they just so there are lots of aspects, and that one team's very active and very. Let me give you some examples of kind of stuff they're doing. So we will have general meetings and have a group consciousness meditation to try to just bring all of our consciousness focused on our organization.
Coherency on the intention, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the attention
Yeah.
specifically for our purpose. And let me segue to our purpose and our mission. And the ZPE Project Group exists to serve humanity, our children and our children's children, altruistically through the research, development, and dissemination of 0 Point energy device designs, open source to the world. So if I parse that a little bit, it's all volunteer. We're all doing it because we think it's important. It's a research and education organization. So we can go down the rabbit hole of many devices that are claimed to have worked but are not available, and why they may not be available. And so that's got some pretty credible stuff, and then it's got some conspiracy theory stuff that's part of that. And then there are some of the other organizations that have looked into this. We're looking to make money. Now, once you start to make money, then you're going to start to hold the information more
close
private.
to the chest. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you're going to differentiate yourself. It's because you have something somebody else doesn't. But then that makes you an easier target.
Yeah.
But also we talked a little bit about the past. Right now is a moment in time where this stuff's getting much more attention. It's more acceptable to talk about these sorts of things.
Yes.
People are not just pushing it aside, right? And so back then, if you're trying to get some significant funding and it's in this area, that's a hard press. So so one of our things is we're not going to sell anything. We need funding to do the research, buy parts. We might compensate someone for their consulting, and maybe some prototypes that we can then reverse engineer, test, vet, validate, apply engineering and scientific processes to say, is this real or not real? So we are here to find things that will work. We have a whole document on device requirements that must be met for us to then, we test to those
investigate it. Yeah,
we investigate, we test to those requirements, which is functionality, but also safety,
right,
and also cost and ease of manufacture,
viability,
product oriented things, but practical too. So that's all part of what we do. Is we're looking at some approaches, some technologies that might work, but we're not publishing in real time things, that are failures, or we're not quite there yet. We might tell you what we're working on. We might tell you that we have some confidence level that this is worthy of funding and working on it, and time and energy, but we're not going to be necessarily putting out plans that are a waste of time or not actually going to get you anywhere.
Yeah. What's the purpose of that anyway?
Well, there's a lot of that out there. So if you go to the web, you'll find people selling stuff on eBay. You'll find
I know
videos of stuff with people that it might be interesting and it kind of works. But if I look at it, I go, there's 8 different ways and that can be a fake, and so maybe, but if that's true, then how come we all don't have one?
Exactly.
So what we want to do is do the scientific process and development and test with quantifiable, reasonable metrics. And then once we have one, to blast it out there as plans that someone else or everybody else could actually implement. So one of the things that we feel protects us is we are volunteers from all over the world. We have people in Europe. We have somebody from Vietnam. We have people all over the United States. We're all informed. We're all, and the information will go out open sourced in as many ways as possible. So that makes it it's not just one person with secrets.
Right.
So it's no secrets. We may hold a few things confidential if they're relationship related, but when it comes down to something useful, it's open source. So that's the thing. And to get there, that consciousness team, I'm trying to bring it back around. We had a little diversion on, but bring it back to the consciousness team. They help us because they may not be technical, but every once in a while, someone said, I had this intuition, and it was I drew a picture, and it's these are the important parts. And we go, we were just talking about something that's related to that in the technical group. So it's like, it's amazing the synchronicity that comes up, or it goes, that isn't exactly what we were thinking about, but that gets me thinking. Sometimes
gives you a bridge.
Yeah,
right?
and
Yeah.
it's a bridge or the question. Ask the question, then gets
Hmm.
you to, in order to answer the question or think about the question, then you might go on a different path, or you might go, that my argument seems a little weak. I better go look up some more
Very
information on
cool.
that. That didn't quite ring true, or whatever. So that's why we look for a diversity in our membership.
Love it.
We have some non-technical people that are more in the consciousness stuff. We have people with business experience that are very helpful in the administrative aspect.
Hmm.
Technical people, obviously, from various different backgrounds. Enthusiasts, just bringing energy that's positive
Yeah,
and
huge.
inquisitive is helpful.
It's huge. Well, this is, I hate to sound all woo woo and crystal waving, but this is the way the human species is supposed to be moving, at least according to my guidance. In fact, they don't say this is how you're moving, they say this is how you do it. This is how you did it, actually. In the quantum world, we've already done it, we've already achieved it. Now we're just trying to bring it through to this particular point of focus. And so having a diverse group of people working altruistically is really the only way, at least what I've been told, that we will be able to put these pieces together. Because if we don't, it's too easy to militarize, to exploit for funds and make one more person in the world king of the world and everybody else is a slave. None of that works. So you're doing the work that I've been told that actually changes everything for the human species, for the planet, and so forth. And then because of quantum entanglement, we are affecting the whole with what we do. And people don't understand that. So if you start at the bottom, being accepting of diversity, being non-mercenary, coming from the highest, most positive point of consciousness and vibration that you can maintain, the way's going to be open to you. And I'm very, very sure of that. And the consciousness that is this field, or this, I don't even know what you want to call it, this concept, it's going to match you in your vibrational state, and then you'll be able to work with it just perfectly. And I believe that's how there are conscious, spacecraft. There are, everything's consciousness. We just are so basic and rudimentary here in the third dimension that it's taken us a while to get back to that. But I'm so excited about this, Matt, because you and your group are exactly what the new Earth, what do they call it? Homo novus, the new human, is
I've heard
working
that.
towards,
Nice.
right? So thank you so much. And so, I mean, you can go with this however you want, but
Would it be helpful for me to talk about what is 0 point energy just a little bit, just
I
in
was
case
just going to
people
say, yeah, for the uninitiated, give a little
Well,
back.
even for the initiated, we'll talk. We can debate this or that. It's
Oh,
because
yeah.
it is in the category of what we're used to is being a scientist. I'm well aware that if you can't measure it, it's not real. Or if you cannot do an experiment and have your hypothesis, then test the hypothesis and then see
You
what the
can't
results
replicate
are
it.
that
Yeah.
confirm that, right?
Yeah.
And so our current science has some holes in it, but they haven't been filled just because some of the stuff there's no, we'll call it publicly available way to measure it. So there's a reasonable expectation that there's been reverse engineering, and that the underground government and industrial aspects probably have a lot of this,
Oh, yeah.
and therefore they probably have spent decades and have instrumentation that can measure, and they probably know a lot, but we're not going to get access to that. So, and it's there. If one buys into that, then it's reasonable to say that's why they would want to suppress the information that's in this area that is,
Sure.
works and provable.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. What it is, but it's if you believe in ETs and space travel and that kind of stuff, then this is the only way that could possibly happen.
Precisely.
And if you are one who buys into levels of consciousness and connection, where is that coming from? And how do you get that? Everything's everything. It's all there. It's just a matter of matching frequencies and access, and in a way that you can resonate and tune in.
And sustained focus of it, right?
Yeah. Right. And so the 0 point, so there's quantum vacuum, we'll call it. The quantum vacuum is everywhere. So even though the word vacuum in our 3D world means absence of air pressure and or lower than atmospheric pressure, quantum vacuum or the vacuum of space is thought in classical terms to be nothing. So, but it actually has lots and lots, infinite stuff there, but it is in perfect balance, of super high frequency balance, and so it's not measurable.
Right.
It's not there because as soon as you think it's there, it's gone, sort of thing. And that is the theory is that's where everything came from. And so that was a moment in time when there was this separation of stuff from that in forms that were lower frequency and balanced, but provided from this everything. And also there's a that's where consciousness, like the universal consciousness, God consciousness, and our records and all that stuff it's all kind of in there in its own vibratory pattern, let's say. So people talk about three-dimensional things or patterns or some kind of context with that. There's there are rules, right? We like it when there are rules, and especially science and engineering likes the rules.
Of course.
But so there are rules. It's just that the rules are so many more dimensions of rules and so many things that we can't get to with our protractors and our
our third dimensional science measurements don't work in those other frequencies.
Right. And you start adding time, but time is not necessarily just a vector of time. Time can have its own dimensions.
Dimensional,
so you can have multi-dimensional time. So you've got space, and you've got time, and then you've got energy to matter sorts of concepts, right? All higher frequencies in the soup of the quantum vacuum. And the 0 point is at that interface of our more lower frequency 3D world and that high vibration part. And if we can tickle that a little bit, stimulate and you have a device, and I'll talk about a couple of ways that this might happen, to stimulate that interface and it's not like an ocean where there's this interface. The interface is down at the smallest level everywhere, right? So we're going to get down to that interface and we're going to disturb it a little bit or stimulate it in a way that we're going to have a short opportunity where instead of it just recombining and going back to its balance, it's going to be a momentary imbalance, and we're going to extract and down convert, let's say, or convert from that down to something, for in our case, electrical energy. So we're going to have devices that can do the stimulation of the field to get to that, and then extract and convert to our electromagnetic thing that we're after so we can use it.
That's cool. Would you say, as you were explaining that, I got a vision of, the classic black hole and the event horizon. Would you say the 0 point is that kind of place on the event horizon right before it gets sucked in?
Many people equate those things. Yes. So those concepts, that's totally compatible with what I just said. Yes. The event horizon. So it's just at that interface between the nothing, which is everything, and our more or less corporeal existence.
Yeah, the third dimensional.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
very well put.
So and then so how do you tickle it? What have been kind of devices and that have done this before? Even more than 100 years ago, when Nikola Tesla was working on things, and he's the father of alternating current electricity, and that's what we're currently based on in most of the world.
Wireless.
Well, he had some of these things that were getting the energy. So the AC thing that he implemented with Niagara Falls and other ones, alternators and generators that are taking mechanical energy and converting and making that into electrical energy. That's our current paradigm, or steam, or coal-fired things, or
some kind of momentum device.
Yeah, some power, physical power, turns something, creates the current, right? But he had other stuff there too. So you've seen all the Tesla coils and this arcing and millions of volts. And so some of this stuff requires, he was able to get more energy out than what he was putting in a couple of different, that's what we're after. That's where does it come from? Well, I'm a practical guy. I don't care where it comes from. I want it. And if I get it, then I'll be a happy boy. So I don't care what the definition is. I don't care to argue too much about the philosophy and that kind of stuff. If that can come second, some will want the physics first because that's who they are. And they'll want some equations. And before they put any personal effort into it, they'll want to be presented with something that they can buy into, and then they'll get on the train and go off. I'm not like that. I'm get it done. Do something. If it works, hand it to those people and say, have fun. Figure it out. Right.
Figure it out.
But meanwhile, I'm running my house, I'm running my car,
that's meaningful enough to me.
So that's me, right?
Yeah.
But so Tesla was doing this, and then the story is that his backers said, "If I can't put a meter on it," this is what Dr. said. He quotes him a lot. If I can't put a meter on it, I'm not interested in it. So stop that. I'm not funding it. And I think it was Morgan, but
J.P. Morgan.
Yeah, but he had a lot of concepts that dealt with the concept of high electromagnetic fields and a pulse. So not a continuous potential of, I've got a 1,000,000-volt potential, but it's a transient. And the transient is the thing that tickles.
Oh, okay.
Right? It's so if we're kind of in balance, a potential is just there, right? It's not that you short it that you get action. Right. Or you provide a load and you can get action from that potential until it's dissipated, right? But no, we're talking about a spike in potential. So it's that momentary wake up, and it will respond. So the quantum vacuum will respond with what was that? So what you want to do is have something else that will get the receive and convert that response of the 0 point in a way that we can then use it. So a lot of the devices have things like electrical coils. So they'll pulse with a high voltage, then they'll have other coils that will receive. So some of the approaches use scalar waves. You might have heard
Right.
about those,
Oh, yeah.
and they pulse and into they're directional, and they'll go in and they'll tickle it at that point, and then you've got other coils, and you might do it in a spitty way,
Mm,
vortex way, to add a little extra juice. And then you've got receiver coils, right? So the energy that you're putting in, you can measure. And
hmm
then the energy you're getting out, you can measure. And what we're looking for is more out than what's being put in, right? And we're not looking over unity, we call it. We're not looking at a number like three times. That'd be interesting, right? That means, it's undeniable if we have a thing and it has a coefficient of production of over 1 by like threefold or fivefold, 10, and it can be reproduced and other people can reproduce it, and therefore it's undeniable. That's interesting, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about something that does thousands. We're
Wow.
talking about devices that are the size of a picnic basket or a home emergency generator of the house that can do 10 to 20 kilowatts of
Kilowatts.
energy
Yeah.
to run the house, run a car in
Wow.
a space like that. And once they get started, don't require they can self-sustain, so they're not requiring a plug-in all the time to
And no maintenance
you just do the thing.
yeah.
Well, that would be ideal. The solid state. So there's categories, right? So in general, we're looking for something with a very large output compared to what gets it started. Or if we need a sustained input, something that's very, very large compared to what we're putting in to get it going, keep it going. Now, so we've talked about tickling the field in that way, with like a scalar wave. There are other ones that are more related to Tesla and others that does the transient. So there's a Bedini motor, other people with motors where you've got magnets passing coils.
Right.
So one coil can be used to push a rotating. So now it's not, it is mechanical because you have to have a rotor that's spinning. So you can use one coil with a low power input to make it turn, and then you have other coils that are just sensing when the magnet passes. That creates the spike in potential. And then you can either we talked about conversion. So one of the things is they takes the spike, which is very fast and not particularly useful to do things with. It's too high frequency, and that's just not what we do in our paradigm right now. But if you were to get the spike to a chemical battery, like a car battery, the battery will see the spike and then will chemically convert the spike to the charge, because there's chemistry involved.
Right.
So that's the transducer that takes the high spike that's not usable, puts it into a form that is usable. So then you can switch battery banks. One's charging, then you're using the battery, and then you switch them. Then this one's charging. So there's an approach like that. Right, but that's a mechanical approach with a rotor. Solid state is there's some solid state ones that have no
moving parts,
mechanical stuff, and they take this coil approach, but they're doing it in a slightly different way and using more modern circuitry that have the potential in the small box to be able to run a home. There are, I'll call them transition technologies. One of the transition technologies that you may be aware of are for combustion engines, finding a way. Water is kind of magic, and so many people have talked about this uniqueness of the proton of hydrogen and water specifically, and having memory and other of those. So there have been, like Stan Meyer is one, is water powered car supposedly, and that was run on 100% water. There are others that have ones that can augment fuel, and maybe you only need 10% as much fuel because using the water in a way. Well, water, it doesn't burn. So how does that work? Well, if you want to discredit it, you say you do hydrolysis and you separate. You put energy, you take energy and you separate oxygen and hydrogen. Now you're going
Hydrogen,
to burn
right.
the hydrogen as fuel. Okay, but no, because
That's not what you're doing.
you'll never get out what you put in,
No,
right?
no.
And so, and it's not efficient and it's not safe to be
Mhm.
running hydrogen cars per se.
Yeah.
So, and it's just no. But but if you take the water, so Stan Meyer's approach and others use the water as the transducer, and you get it into a vapor state, you can charge. So you're putting this higher
Mhm.
volt in the moment. You're putting a high charge on it in a electromagnetic pulsing field, and that changes it into some other kind of a beast. And
Yeah.
that other thing can either explode when put into a compression, like a
Yeah.
mechanical thing to
Yeah.
provide pressure, or it might actually implode, which then sucks the cylinder back up. So you've
Mhm.
got one aspect which is currently compliant with combustion, which is something explodes, creating pressure to push a piston down.
Pushing. Yeah.
Then there could be another one where it goes in on the intake cycle and it sucks it back, which
Hmm.
each of those can work.
Yeah.
And that reason is a transition technology is they can be add-ons to all of the stuff that we have out there, combustion engines now. So
Yeah.
you don't have to put them in the landfill, right?
Yeah.
You can, and you don't have to necessarily change your behavior. You take it to the shop, they retrofit it with these things,
Huh.
and then off you go.
So it's
And
a
so,
good next phase kind of thing.
and it's understandable, and it's
Yeah.
not, it's, it fits within your paradigm
Hmm.
of how we do things. And if, could be vehicles, engines, but those engines also can run generators and
Sure.
other things. And so a transition technology like that, we talk about in the group, and one of the groups, the teams we have is a promulgation strategy team.
Hmm.
The purpose of that team, which is yet to be fired up, so to speak, is how do we present the message in a way people can not, that we're going to minimize, I'll do it the other way, minimize a reflexive,
Yeah.
I don't want to hear
Resistance.
about it,
Yeah.
right? So you
Resistance.
want to say, here is something that you might be interested in. It has these positive aspects to it. And it actually, so one of the strongest feelings I have is ETs, easy to discount. Oh, spirits, easy to discount. Consciousness, don't know what that is. But if you say, here's something that can run your car on
Hmm.
10%, on you can get 10 times more mileage out of your car for a couple $1,000
Hmm.
add-on, then I don't even have to understand where
No.
it comes from, what it
Run, don't walk to
it's
the nearest dealer. Yeah.
it's like now I have a personal benefit. It's something I can accept. Now, once
Mhm.
you start to accept, oh, this little thing can power my house. Oh, okay. And I only have to pay for the original device, and then it kind of goes on.
Takes care of
And
itself. Yeah.
so yeah, maybe. So you got the personal benefit, and that's kind of a bridge. We talk about bridge, right? So that's a bridge to, oh, I have this thing, or I'm thinking of getting a thing, and it seems like it can work. Well, why didn't anybody know about this before? And where did this come from? So
Ding,
in other
ding,
words,
ding.
it
Yeah.
it kind of
Starts to wake people up.
it allows you to shift. A shift. We're talking about a shift of mind. We want this could be a catalyst. I think it's a reasonable catalyst that will allow people to shift from a
Love it.
rigid, container of
Yeah.
safety and what they're being,
Yeah.
told. And it's working now. It's fine. I don't have timer energy. I got other things to worry about. I don't want to go off and learn and maybe open up a little bit of uncertainty, right? I'm fine where I
Yeah.
am. But if you have these opportunities, it's a way of saying, well, there could be more. There could be more that
Yes.
would benefit you. And there are these things. And, here's some information that says stuff's been around a while, but just not necessarily available to you. Well, why
Yeah.
wasn't it? Well, go read over there a little bit. Go talk to this person. And by the way, the person you're electing to the next office, what's their attitude about
Yeah.
all of this? Is it let's go to a new place, or is it let's hunker down in a old paradigm
Dig
of love
ourselves
and
deeper
safety
into the grave.
and
Yeah.
that kind of thing, right? So
Yeah.
but this personal benefit, I feel this is it's an easier way for people that might not have otherwise to get a little bit of a shift into possibilities.
Wow. I love how you explained it, Matt, because you know, let's be honest, most people are overstimulated already. They're stressed out, they're tired, and they feel very oppressed and like there's just nothing they can do. But talk about a paradigm shift. Remember, history buffs will just laugh at this, but remember how resistant people were to the automobile. All the blacksmiths and the horse breeders are going to go out of business. It'll ruin our economy, and it's not trustworthy, and it's blah 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 blah. Well, look at what a revolutionary thing the automobile was, and how that catapulted us, for good or for ill, into a whole new paradigm.
I
To
was
the
just
point
thinking
where
of a
to the
more
point where
recent
nobody doesn't have one, or cell phones, for instance. So
microwaves.
microwaves, yeah,
Right?
yeah,
That's what hit me when you were talking about it. It's a little
yes,
more, back when they were starting to come in, and they weren't perfect, and yeah, they had to get them to the point where they make sure they're safe and
oh
stuff.
yeah,
But there's still a backlash against microwaves, and there are some aspects that people have some valid concerns about. But in
qualms
general,
about it.
they're all over the place now, right? And
Yeah,
that form of energy that's tuned to water,
yeah,
that heats up the water.
it excites the water, tickles the water.
Yeah, it's
Same
it's
concept.
yeah, and that is part of some of these devices make use of that aspect. Whereas whether it's radio frequency or microwaves or whatever, to get the water into that stimulated effect that
Hmm.
gets it in a pulse manner we talked about before, to be the transducer that can grab that excess energy and then allow us to use it in the transition way. And I just want to mention one more. There's several, but one more device approach. The one that is the currently most cited path to get more energy out than what one puts in is Casimir plate
Hmm.
technology.
Hmm.
And that is a phenomenon that has shown you can get more out than in. And where does that come from? It's
Hmm.
you can get papers you published, you can in peer-reviewed scientific journals, you can get funding to work at this and stuff like this. And simply, I don't know, simply put, but if you put some highly polished surfaces or very small surfaces down into getting close to the molecular level or atomic level, and you put them close enough, they pull together,
Hmm.
right? So if you're using a little bit of energy, at some point it pulls it together. And so if you can interrupt the pull or vibrate the pull or add in some light, it can take some of that energy, and now you can get out more than the energy you're putting in the vibrate, for example, or the
Wow.
the flux of photons you're putting in. You'll get more energy out. And so, but it's proof that there is energy to be had from something that we're not really you know, it may not fit the classical paradigm. But that approach to the Casimir effect will never get you the kilowatts.
Right.
It's really, really small
Yeah.
stuff. There are, in that category of plates and stimulated fields, there we internally in our group are putting it into a category of a Casimir thing, because there's some aspects to it that are similar, and we feel borrow some of the same concepts. So a bunch of parallel plates, and with different electrical or chemical characteristics to them, different chemistry, different
Right.
materials. Some are conductive, some are insulating, some are in between, different layers, different spacing. And then you stimulate that field with the plates in between these plates. And then, like I said before, once it's stimulated, you can put in something and get more out.
Wow.
So that's another approach. So the field is between plates. So we've got solid state. I didn't even talk about the category photoelectric, which is like a solar that receives the in 50 years ago, or let's say 70 years ago. What, you mean you can get electricity out of sun?
Yeah.
Right. Well, yes, we do. And so, but imagine that you can get a stimulate, like you're putting in some energy to create light into a phosphorescent material, right? But because the phosphorescent material then absorbs that energy, and then will over a longer, so you put a pulse of energy in, the phosphor is the transducer, which slows it down, and then it emits the light. But what if that's in a field? So you have a certain composition of the phosphor, a specific field that it's in. You stimulate it, it glows, it's giving off things in a longer period of time, but it's 100 times, 1,000 times more
Wow.
flux out
There's a
than
lot of potential there.
and so then you just convert it back. So then you use the solar technology or photodiodes or whatever to convert those photons back to electricity, which we know how to do. So there are maybe 10 or 12 different approaches,
Wow.
and they have to
I
be
had no
tuned
idea.
that supposedly work. Do I have one? No. Do I want one? Yeah. Are we familiar with 70 to 80% of the concept? Yeah. Is that enough to do one each individually yet? No, but that's why we have a group. And that's why we're getting together, and that's why we're working on this artificial intelligence, because each of us has our, disk full of references of patents and papers and things like this. And each one might have a sentence or a diagram that is relevant to the answer. And then a bunch of stuff that may or may not be, right? It's an awful lot of material to go through as a human and read it and then remember it and then go back and then record. Yeah. But not so much for a computer if you train it right. So if we have that material used as our source, not the web, we use and focused material. We index it. This is how do you get to AI? You have the source material in some format. You have a processing thing. So whether it's images or text or equations, you need different processing to get it into a digital form that's usable. Then you index. Now that's the tricky part. You index the stuff in a way that self-trains based on what you're looking for. And so those algorithms develop over time, but we tune them, or the plan is we will tune them for our specific need.
Use.
Right?
Yeah.
So they will be not what you get out in general, or AI,
Yeah.
GPT stuff.
No, it's very
on similar
specific to what
software,
you're
but
doing.
it's specific. Yeah, specific to what we do. And then output it in a ways with a question, then iterate. So it's got some sexy new stuff going on in addition to try to get the old stuff, but try to also use the newer consciousness things we've been talking about, the AI, database engineering, and that kind of stuff. And then, of course, the scientific and engineering with the devices. So
Amazing. Speaking of consciousness, when you first started talking about the process for creating your own AI specific, you know, resource, my lighting system lit up super bright. I don't know if you could see it, but my
I
face
did.
is almost
It happened.
washed
I
out.
did. I
It's in
thought
a place where I can't reach it from here.
I thought you backed up and some light came
Nope,
through, but I said I
nope.
noticed that.
As you start it, and it's almost like validation, pay attention, bright idea, it's right over your head. Bright idea, light bulb. So I just had to tell you that. I didn't know if you noticed it,
Yeah,
but
well,
it
I
was
noticed. I
very
thought
apparent. It's like
I thought
gross.
maybe I should do some hand gestures while you fixed your lighting system.
I can't
Okay.
reach it. I can't
Okay.
reach it from here. So
Yeah, that was
it's
funny.
it's hardwired. So I'm gonna have to deal with it afterwards. But I just think it's hilarious. I
Yeah.
have stuff like this happen all the time when
Yeah,
I'm
me
in
too.
sessions and when I'm interviewing people. If the energy gets really high, sometimes things will fritz out or they'll blink or um, it's just weird stuff. So, the consciousness piece is real. And most people who are listening and watching this interview are probably already, read into that or at least are interested in that or at least accept a little bit of it. But for those of you who aren't yet, it's where it's at. It really is. There is something to this. And I wanted to ask you, I don't want to keep you forever, but, back in the day when first started getting into quantum physics, 40 years ago, the thing that was really sexy to me was the concept of dark matter. So I'm going to ask you, do you believe it exists? Is there anything that is called dark matter? Really?
Again, my first thing is I don't care
Yeah, I don't
whether
even
it does or
at this
it
point. I
doesn't.
don't, other than it's just,
I'm after making a device that works if I can,
yeah.
or more than one,
Yeah.
and so it certainly does help with those who are looking for the overall concepts, a unifying concept for how things will work. That's part of it. And
Yeah.
so it kind of helps with that. There's always, we have this thing in science. It's like you can't get anything nothing's for free.
Right.
Right. So if you're getting this from somewhere, yeah, where is it? Valid. Again, I don't care if I can do it. I don't
Yeah.
care. You can figure that out later, right?
Yeah.
So
Doesn't
that's
matter.
not going to hold me back from trying. Now, once there are some newer theories that are coming out that support the concept of the big soup that's in balance and we're just borrowing it. So we're borrowing it and it's going back in some other place. So we're borrowing from here for this use and it'll get back there. Don't worry about it. I'm not worried about it. And so it's kind of that aspect. It's interesting to me, and having the theory can help improve what you have. I'm more practical and just want to get it done. I just want
Yeah, I
something.
hear you.
I want something, to do it. And so yeah, I
Do it
might
now.
I,
Do it now and get it out there.
like just give a little on the vision of things. Is
Yes.
another thing that
I was going to say, where do we go from here?
yeah. So I like to paint a vision of there's short-term and long-term. So global warming type of thing is not no one's fixing global warming aspect, whether it's man-made or not. That kind of aspect is a longer term
Yeah.
sort of thing. So getting the free energy device, ZPE devices out there long term, perhaps going to have a positive impact.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of short-term stuff. Not just it's going to power my house and yes, it's going to put less pollution out.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of energy intensive things we have that are not in use because either you can't get the electricity to it, they're too remote. You can't, or it's too expensive. Or that's just access, right? Access to the energy. It's not worth it. We're going to choose a secondary approach because it's a tenth of the price. But there is a better approach, but it's so energy intensive right now. The
Yeah.
cost is prohibitive. And I just wanted to paint this picture because it's not just the immediate benefit to you people who could power their car or their home or that kind of stuff, but it's things like drinking water access.
That's
So
where I was going. It'll
drinking water
feed
is
and
one.
clothe and
Right,
give
right.
water to people, right?
Drinking water has all
Shelter.
the aspect you have to get it. So acquiring it, even if you're trucking it in, that's a
Yeah.
cost. And so if that becomes, the powered vehicles, ZPE powered, that lowers that cost. But you
Hmm.
pumping it, if you have to drill down farther at some point, that's just too expensive to drill and to pump, right?
Right.
But then Dr. Greer talks about the concept of there are many humid places, but they don't have water. But why not just run the air conditioner condenser to condense it
Exactly.
out? Well, it's too expensive for
Yeah.
the cup of water
The
unless
reclamation. Right.
it's free, right? And desalinization, those
I
are
was
big
thinking of
reverse
that.
osmosis things. That's very energy intensive,
Yeah.
right? So there's always the balance of, well, do I desalinate at the shore, or do I truck it in,
And
or
truck it. Yeah.
pipe it in, right? And so there's now I'm trucking it in, I'm polluting, but I get my water. But if you could desalinate right there,
Hmm.
so and then there's preparation of the water. You get the stuff, but then you purifying it,
Hmm.
purification at the local water plant. Many ways to purify it, but probably be the ones that sterilize it. There, for example, reverse osmosis can sterilize because it excludes the bugs. So now you
Yeah.
don't need the chemical
You're
uh,
right.
de-sterilization potentially if especially if it's close by where you're using it. But again, getting the minerals out. We have ion exchange and water softeners and
Mhm.
sorts of things. There are some energy intensive. So you get the water, purify the water, and then keep the water, right? That is energy intensive. But then what comes out the other end is waste treatment. Right now, you're generating waste of all types, right? So we've got our physical waste, we've got our bodily biological waste, that's
Right.
treatment plants and that kind of stuff. And right now that's done in a biological way, and a lot of those are over capacity,
Oh,
and
they're
a lot of
not
places
doing a
don't
good
have
job.
that. That
Yeah.
don't have it. But you can treat waste with some energy if it were free.
Yeah.
It's off the shelf stuff. It's just the energy to do it. So waste treatment. Then there's pollution remediation. There are a
Hmm.
lot of ways to remediate polluted water and oceans and things like that. Energy intensive. And they're on the shelf because it doesn't make sense right now. The cost is too high. But if
Yeah.
the energy were free, more or less, then so now we could impact. Then we know there's transportation, and there's housing, and there's yeah, greenhouses
Yes.
and environments within growing fields. But even uh, fertilizers are energy intensive to
Hmm.
create fertilizers and things, and if you can some the ways of reducing the burden on fertilizers, but also pest control and stuff. There
Right.
are things that are less destructive to perform those same things, energy intensive. So these could be within a short period of time, all implemented with availability of this energy aspect, short term, and who wouldn't want to have less pollution in their lake they're
Yeah.
swimming, or
Yeah.
who wouldn't want to have water that's cleaner and less stuff that might disturb your system,
Hmm.
and waste treatment and stuff,
Hmm.
so that's hard to argue with.
Yeah. No. It's exciting. And I'm holding space that it happens immediately.
That's why I'm saying talk about the theory later. I need to get something done. We need to
Yeah.
get stuff done.
Yeah.
And so some of this stuff there are some things that we think are closer, but will require us to spend some money. And so we are a 501(c)(3), and we would appreciate not only people support, consciousness, energy,
Right.
time to help us work on various aspects, contributing by being present. Not only that, we do need some money.
Funds. Yeah.
And anything you can do to help, or people can do to help us on that path, will be appreciated.
Wow, Matt, it's incredible to I could sit here for days and listen to you talk about this, because I just suddenly all kinds of ideas are coming in my own head,
Right, it gets
it's
you
very
going.
stimulating, and I feel bad because we didn't get to talk about, who else Matt is really, other than that little bio. So we'll have to have you back on just to visit as this guy is a really smart guy and is doing really good things for the world, but also here's who he is. But in the meantime, I think we should ask people to get involved however they can, whether it's financially or, boots on the ground, or if they know someone who might be, helpful to this cause. Yeah. So how can people get in touch with you, Matt?
All right. So we have a website. It's got a long name, but there's a shortcut to it. So the long name is the ZPE Project Group.org.
Okay.
But you can get to it we have a lot of redirects, like the .com version and the one without the in front of it. And then we also have this one, which is the easiest, ZPEPG.com.
Perfect.
So ZPE, Zero Point Energy Project Group, PG. ZPE.com will redirect you to the main website. And so go there, because it does have what's the organization is about. It has a membership application. It has a donation button there if you want to donate. It tells you where the money goes, the kind of information there to support, give you more idea of what we're spending the money on. And then if you want to become a member, then there's a members website, and that has a lot more information on teams, what the teams do. And if you want to get involved that way, become a member. It's free. You fill out an application, read our guidelines thing. We give you a phone call and make sure you're positive and supportive, and off we go. And then you just attend whatever Zoom meetings for the various teams that we want, that you want to participate in. And we will be updating both websites with content as we go on, which is to try to keep people informed. We are currently running this project, or we're seeking funding for this project, which more specifics. And then as we go through it, our thing is we want to share.
I love
share the information. And so keep going back to the website, send people there. And that, I think, just being interested and talking about it to friends and family and paying attention is the most important thing, and the rest is practical.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. And of course I'll be posting all these links and everything once I do post-production on this thing. But just for those of you who are watching, if this tripped your trigger, get involved in some way. However, go into your own meditation, ask, how can I be of service? This is part of how we move forward. But it's also very exciting. Who wouldn't want to be on the cutting edge of the most important discovery in recorded history, at least for mankind? I think this is going to be the thing that cracks our cosmic egg open. I really do. But get involved, get your friends involved, and donate if you can to help this go, because these people are doing this out of the goodness of their hearts, and all the money is going towards propelling this project, unlike a lot of other projects where they say they're going to do that and then they start taking a paycheck. So not that there's anything wrong with having a paycheck, but if you're going to be a nonprofit, work it that way. And I love that you're such a big part of this, that you're really mastheading so much of it, because you have the most integrity of almost anyone I know, Matt, and I really appreciate you for that.
Oh, thanks.
And the mind is amazing too. But yeah, everybody just, get hold of him however you can, and offer your talents or your funds or whatever if you feel like this was a really interesting thing. And by the way, I tell people this once in a while: if you're listening, especially to this interview, it's not by coincidence. There's something here for you to be doing, and this is your clarion call. So maybe heed that call. Go into meditation and ask, what's my part? And then do something. So anyway, Matt, thank you so much. Dr. Klee, thank you so much. And you're just a joy. And I really appreciate your time. Thank you for all you're doing. I can't wait to keep up with things and myself. And hopefully I'll get to see you in person sometime this year.
Well,
hopefully, maybe
this summer I'll be going to the next
cool.
one. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. And yeah, for those of you who are interested in meeting Matt, he comes to our contact modalities. It's a contact and consciousness retreat, training retreat. Whew, some awesome stuff happens. So we'll post a little thing about that too. But Matt, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. You are definitely one of those amazing hidden variables running in the background there to make everything special in our world. Thank you for being with us. We'll talk soon. Bye. In Lakesh. Bye. I'm another you.